victory of soul over circumstance, the growth of inner light over the pressures.
Peace, and welcome back to the Jewel Exchange with Spit Gemz. Today, we're going to chop it up a little bit about some new projects I got coming out, talk a little bit about some prior projects I released, and just wanted to build with y'all overall about where my mind is at musically, where I'm at spiritually, and give you, share some of my analysis about, the state of music and how it concerns me and my music and plans I got for the future. And let's just jump right into it, man. So I thought long and hard about releasing this next album. The album is titled Knife Work. Now, for those who follow me close, you've heard this before, and this was actually the second part to Happiness of the Knife, right? Originally, Happiness of the Knife was about 15 songs, 15 tracks. I decided that maybe people might sleep on that, and because of the length of the project, some songs might go unnoticed or get overshined. Ultimately, I came to the decision. I said, let me split this project into two. And I did that. I released Happiness of the Knife. And then I began compiling Knife Work. Once I started building that album, though, I'm somebody who studies daily and I get into a lot of different things. If I find something interesting, I'm going to dive deep into it and get as close to the root of everything I can. I take the etymological root. I'll go into the historical root. I'll go into the historical root. There's a lot of different methods I use to try to excavate jewelry and knowledge, right? But through those efforts and through those journeys, I became fixated on one topic in specific, and that was religion, organized religion, Christianity, the Bible, all of this, right? And this is nothing new. You can travel back and hear this in my music all throughout from the very beginning, essentially, At this point in my life, though, and my studies, I was unraveling a whole lot, and I was understanding a lot about myself. And one song in particular that I began writing, and it began as just a study and a compiling of notes and a collection of essays, really, which eventually I will publish. They are lengthy. I thought of the idea to try to take all of this and put it into one song, try to make it concise, summarize it. And to be honest, I wasn't able to do that. I wasn't able to get everything into one song, right? But, is that even possible? What I was able to do was get a portion of it into one song. And then around that song, I began building other songs, pieces. And I realized, Knife Work is going to have to wait because these songs, this collection of songs and thoughts and ideas, they are all interlocking perfectly together. And this is its own project. Some of the songs I had recorded to different beats, or some of the verses, not full songs, but some of the ideas, some of the bars were on different beats. I started building with nickel-plated beats. Shout out to Nickel-Plated. The songs he was sending me, the music he was sending me, sounded perfect for what I was working on, for what ultimately became Eulogy for the Devil. This is the last project I just dropped. Fully produced by Nickel-Plated, and just, for me, a grand expression, something I really needed to get off, something I needed to put that in rhyme form and song form for my own well-being and for the sake of making room for the rest of the material that correlates to that as well. And also I understood I could get back to work on Knife Work, Happiness of the Knife Part 2. But sometimes this happens to me. I'll be working on one thing and then an idea will be so strong that I just got to dive into it. I have to give my all to that one specific idea. And that's essentially what happened. The song that I'm talking about in specific is the song titled The Way. And that song, a very special song to me, something I wanted to share with people who may have been unfamiliar with this perception of the literature, the Bible, and also to extend my understanding to those who share that understanding and that perception. So that project took a lot of precedence in my life, and I really needed to get it off. All of the songs interlock with each other. Scream Vengeance, Ice Pick Lobotomy, the visual representation in the video of being blindfolded by the backwards dogma. It's a very simple, right to the point visual cue that I wanted to use to just get across what this album was about. And that's precisely it. It was about removing the blindfold of that backwards dogma that so many people have been led astray by, and so many people to this day will constantly defend for various reasons. Some saturated in ignorance, and some deep fried in agenda, right? And others simply enjoy the simplicity of the redeeming message. And for those people, my heart is genuinely with you, and I do believe that God understands all this without pause or question. You know what I'm saying? So I understand some people may have been taken aback by that song and feel that it was disrespectful. I'm sorry that you feel that way. That's unfortunate that you feel people shouldn't be able to express themselves, especially concerning literature that has impacted and affects so many people mentally, spiritually, and at times can be harmful. But we must proceed, and I've always been the kind of person to speak my mind. That's just what it is. I understand that I'll lose followers or lose listeners for speaking the truth. That's always been an understanding of mine. That's never been something that would genuinely shock me. Other things have shocked me along the way. And I'll get to that just in a minute. But just to keep it on knife work, because I really wanted to explain all this to y'all. This album almost got scrapped. I almost scrapped the entire album. I almost scrapped the Ribs Part 2 album. I almost just said, I don't know if I want to release this. Knife work in particular has some expressions on it that no longer serve me. And to be quite honest, I find them to be beneath me at this point. So this was the motivation to scrap the songs and get rid of them. Like, yo, I don't need this. I don't need for people to hear this. I thought a long time about this, because intertwined within these songs where these expressions pop out and take place are also grand expressions, deep expressions that I do want to share with people. And that has been the conundrum, right? That's always been who I've been. When I took on the name Spit Gemz, I took it on as a result to something that happened in my real life. But I wanted to make that a positive thing, right? It's been dualistic in nature since its inception, the light and the dark. The light representing my talent, my gift, knowledge, wisdom, speaking these jewels to the people. The dark being what it also means to spit a gem-star razor out, represents war, represents aggression, it represents violence. Sometimes that violence is unwarranted. Most of the time it is. Now, that's another thing we can get into a lot deeper, but I really want to express why I chose the name Spit Gemz and what it always meant to me. And it became a vehicle for me to create, and to create within these parameters. A certain kind of freedom, knowing, I represent the dark and the light. I represent balance. So I'm going to give you both sides of the razor, both edges of the razor. And I did that for most of my career. And at times I was able to keep a balance. And at times the balance tipped. When the balance tipped in the favor of the light, things in my life would begin to go right. They would be better. There's no doubt about it. My mental health was better. I felt better spiritually. I felt stronger, wiser. When they would tip in the opposite direction of the dark, and I began just leaning into these more vulgar expressions, these violent expressions that didn't really serve any higher purpose. And I guess we'll get into that. Some violent expressions can serve a higher purpose, and I do believe that. I do believe resistance at times will call for violence. And if there are wicked oppressors with their foot on your neck, doing things to make sure that you fail miserably and that evil agendas are carried out, then by no means should you approach those people in a timid fashion. I'm a strong believer in that. So, of course, there are caveats, and this is a deep and complex topic. But what I'm expressing here is that there are times, and there were plenty times, when the balance of my writing tipped in the side and leaned towards the side of unwarranted violent expressions, just bullshitting more or less. And even at times I would make excuses for this by saying, yo, look how witty this is, how crafty it is. And I'm beginning to shed that as well. That's rapidly falling apart, that theory now, because I understand what I'm healing from. And so when I would do that, this is long-winded, forgive me, but it's a lot. When I would go too far that way, my life would also respond in real time to that negativity within my writing. When I was creating negative things, my life would react in a negative way. And for me to deny the existence of this cause and effect relation would be silly. It's futile at this point. You know, when I was thinking of canceling the album and just scrapping it, I also considered the producers and the MCs who worked on the album with me, who are a part of the album, who gave me the beats, took the time to create this with me and these expressions. And I don't want you to get me wrong. There's never been a time when I've created not even one album, one group of songs or body of work that was just riddled with decadence or you know, it's always been an internal struggle, a light versus dark that you've witnessed play out on my albums. This is the absolute truth. And I think that comes across fairly well, and at times has also probably made me look hypocritical, which I'm also aware of, which is something that I can't have remain a constant, because that does not serve who I am at this point in my life. And I have the power to do everything I need to do to express this to the people and make the changes necessary to fully tip that balance in the right direction, in the correct direction, in the righteous direction, for me to fully execute what it is that I've been sent here for, what I'm supposed to be doing here. And I've known this since a young child. And I also know that I've been led astray at times. With that said, though, this album also reflects that. There are quite a few jewels on here that I'm extremely proud of. There's some lines in here that I know came directly from the heart and are designed for the listener to reap benefit from, you know, just authentic, you know what I mean? And it's hard for me to scrap those as well. I also had another idea to go in and change the parts that I didn't like. And to be quite honest, I did that on a few songs. I didn't do it on all of them. Some of them, when I began to take it apart, it started to become something that felt almost dishonest now. Because if I'm going to express my full growth, right? And if I want you to see the change and the elevation, the evolution, the process itself, then I'm not going to sanitize my work to a place where, you know, now it's retroactively dishonest. Because as I said, I created this project at a time while I was going through a lot of changes and on the brink of this breakthrough, this place that I'm at right now, where I feel I'm in the beginnings of my final form of my music, my final form of evolution concerning what it is I want to express, the way that I want to express it, and the vehicle that I'm going to use to do it, which is very important. So the things that I did change, the things that I did go in and change were words that were so vulgar to me that I felt they could be replaced without removing the honesty of my state of mind at the time, which very likely may have been low vibrational, struggling with certain things. But ultimately, I decided to share these bodies of work with the people. This album will be out in October. I could give you some of the features, some of the production. Of course, I have my brothers, Homeschool, A1 and FU are on the project. Got the homie Bub Style appears on a song on the project. There is another feature on this project that I won't speak about right now because it's very near and dear to me, and there is a lot of sensitive, the atmosphere surrounding the song is very sensitive, and rightfully so, and we want to make sure everything is done the right way and goes the right way before even speaking about it. Production-wise, I have something that is a dream for me. I have production from Buck Wild, somebody who is a producer I grew up on and who has remained consistent, constant, an absolute legend. And it is with great honor to be able to rock over this production. And I'm very proud of that song as well. I was also able to get a joint with Vinny Idol, another producer that I aspired to work with for years, since I was in the pen, and he was just reigning supreme with the locks and just all kinds of right up my alley, man. Beats that when I heard them, I said, yo, these beats were made for me. You know what I'm saying? And you know all the work he's done with Gemz. Shout out to Gemz. But we were able to make that happen. So we got Buck Wild, Vinny Idol, iTrack, got a dope joint on there with him. The homie Nickel Plated, Simon Hampton, who is one of the illest up-and-coming producers who I've done incredible work with in the past, and more. All in all, I just giving you some information about the album and why it was such a difficult process to decide, what am I going to do with this material? And when I went over it, you know, fine tooth, magnifying glass, I ultimately decided I need to release this. The people need to hear this, and they need to see what happens next after this, where I go, where it is that this is heading for me, because what's coming next is my self-produced EP. And this is something that's, when people say, yo, this is my baby, that feels like an understatement to me at this point. And this is undoubtedly the work that I am most proud of, that I would play for anybody, for any human being in the world, whether you needed it translated or not. This group of songs can be played for anybody, and I think that there will be grand benefit in them. So there is certainly a contrast in this music, in this project, compared to my prior ones, but it's still me, still Gemz. Razor sharp delivery, not holding any punches, you know what I'm saying? But this content, this substance is something that I just can't wait to share this with y'all. It's exciting. It's not completed yet. I'm roughly at about 4 songs right now. I don't know if I'll have to go past 5 songs because of how heavy the content is, how substantial the material is. But I may go past 4. I may go to 5 songs, and there even may be a bonus track or 2 with a feature on it. But we'll get into more of that as time goes on. I'll speak more about that, and I'll keep you in tune, give you a name, give you a date. All of that is to come. But for right now, what's important is that I explain ahead of time that there has been a grand evolution in my spirituality, in my mind state, and my understanding of what it is that's going on and what this art form has been ensnared by. I also have come to the understanding within myself that I can no longer protect anybody, you know. Let me explain that statement too. For a long time, there were individuals in hip hop, whether they be MCs, producers, whatever, that have unapologetically sided with corrupt politicians, corporate monsters in the form of fucking fast food and liquor sponsorships, things that I know inherently and have always known inherently to be a perversion of what it is art, expression, and human elevation should consist of. I think I've reached a point where a lot of the people who I looked to for guidance when I was younger through their music, and then would take advice they would say outside of their music based on how much their music did for me. And as I got older and wiser and went through more life-changing experiences, surviving the unimaginable, being able to educate myself, refine my mind state, sober up, I feel like an imposter to myself if I look at this and take the approach of hip hop is beyond reproach. This is insane to me. I don't relate to this on any level at all. And when I say I can't protect that anymore, what I mean is I can no longer remain silent, whether through my music, whether it be through an expression that I write with, but not to say that I've ever been silent, but I have certainly struggled with what and who I should mention in regards to the people being misled. Now, like I said, I've certainly haven't been quiet about that. I've certainly put a whole lot out there concerning that. But that shit is just the tip of the iceberg, man. Like, if we're going to be honest with ourselves, I'll keep it on the eye. If I'm going to be honest with myself, Raymond, forget about Spit Gemz. How do I ignore this complete perversion of the essence of hip hop? And you could take that term hip hop, we could talk about that term too, and say, yo, at the end of the day, are we not poets? Regardless of what corporate media outlet or some bought off rapper or celebrity says about what hip hop is or hip hop isn't at any given moment, are we not poets? Is the poet not by nature the rebel? What are we doing cozying up to these demons who have undoubtedly the wickedest agenda for us? How is this possible? You know, and these are deep reflections, man, because as an MC, a partaker, a part of the culture, you are complicit in whatever you don't address. For me, I cannot be complicit in that. I can't knowingly understand all of this, right? And then create music, sell it to my people who rock with me, my listeners, and not tell them the truth. You know, do I look like some sort of fucking entertainer? You know what I mean? Do I look like I got on some sort of costume and I'm up here doing some dumbass dance and you know what I'm saying, kissing ass to get the next show? No, that's never been who I have been, and that's never been what I've respected about hip hop. For me, the MC has always been a rebel. As soon as you lose that rebelliousness, as soon as you succumb to these political agendas or this corporate bullshit, you are no longer even an MC to me at this point. A lot of people would lead you to believe that these, MC is just the entertainer. It's about rocking the mic on stage and all this other shit and fucking filling arenas up with fucking people who are singing mindless music. That has nothing to do with being an MC. That has nothing to do with the essence of where that MC comes from. This art form comes from impoverished inner cities. It's an extension of deep poetic expressions. That's what the roots of this is, right? Not materialism, not braggadocio, not being able to fill an arena. That it doesn't mean nothing if your expressions and your music are shit. So you got to ask yourself, what is hip hop to you? Is it a corporate vehicle? Because if that's all it is to you, then everything that's happening right now and has been happening for quite a while makes perfect sense to you. But if you truly believe that the fifth element of hip hop is knowledge, and that this is supposed to be a beneficial element to the people, all people who engage with this art form, then how is it possible that we make excuses for this corporate drivel? How is it possible? It's not possible. It's simple. You made excuses. When somebody calls you a sellout, you can't be angry because it's what you did. I'll give you some examples of what I mean, right? Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding cannot be sponsored by Hennessy. Yes or no? Yes or no? That's all, man. That's all. That's all. You can't. Here's another one for you, an important one. When you are taught to fight the power, what power exactly is that? If you are siding with the powers that be, how does that make sense? How is that not a misleading of the people and a grotesque perversion? Right? These things are important, man. These things are important. I will double back. I want to double back to what I meant by these expressions, these things that no longer serve me. Another popular one that I take no pride in, I'm not proud of these expressions at all, is the whole idea of that an a rapper should be a couple things, right? But what is this infatuation that we have with bragging about bagging another man's girl, right? I'm extremely guilty of this practice. I've done this countless times on record and in real life. You know what I'm saying? And it's one of the things that I've grown to truly despise about myself, about my former self. This idea that every verse should have this expression in it is one that causes harm, right? This idea, I can fuck your bitch, I sell drugs, I can fuck your bitch, AKA I have no respect for myself or anybody else. I'm the illest drug dealer, AKA I help destroy families. I got the best clothes. I got the illest drip, AKA I'm vain and shallow. I've succumbed to materialism. And I think by mentioning it, I got one up on you. Listen, man, I've gone through all of this myself. I'm sharing this with y'all because I truly believe it's something that needs to be expressed. We need to grow. It needs to change, and if somebody don't say it, somebody's gotta bear the cross, man, so to speak. And, I've been on this train of thought for a long time, but as I've mentioned earlier, I do feel I'm ready. I do feel I'm ready for my final form. And with that comes self-accountability, a denouncing of your own material and your former state of mind, and education for the people. Why do you feel like this? Why did you make these changes? Why is this happening in your life? And that's what this is all about. That's what I'm doing here. Some people may feel offended. And like I said before, that is too bad. It's unfortunate. You know what I mean? This is me speaking directly to the culture, to all my listeners, and to whom it may concern. Because to many people, this is going to go right over their head. And this is also not going to sit well with a lot of people because they are complicit willingly, you know, and also maybe participators of certain practices, you know, pushing this racial division agenda, pushing this this materialism agenda. They may have some stake in these things, and they may not like what I'm saying. You know, a lot of these people are tied to political agencies, you know what I'm saying, and undoubtedly bought off. So we will have naysayers. But this is all about me expressing myself, speaking the truth, and explaining to my listeners what they can expect coming from me musically moving forward. And I'm excited about it all, you know. I feel like certain things, certain elements from the past that I tried to bring out and bring them all the way to the top. If you look at projects like A Dove in the Snake Pit or Homeschool, those projects, I wrote those when I was sober. And I think it's very easy to understand that once you listen to them and then listen to the rest of my projects or certain other projects that might be a mixture of those two mind states. But, you know, A Dove in the Snake Pit was a warning call. That was a direct warning call to let people know, yo, this whole idea that you got to talk about these things, this fake, fantastical drug dealing life and take pride in this sort of fuckery, you know, engulf yourself in this materialism and think that that's going to make you a man or make you a respected person is a fallacy. It's all false. It's a lie. The entire album was dedicated to that. It also dealt with addiction. You know, I'm somebody who grew up in a household that was riddled with drugs and drug dealers. You know, I didn't have to come outside or meet nobody or listen to no music to understand what that life was all about. I was literally born into it and heavily afflicted because of it. A lot of horrible things happen in my life because of this sort of atmosphere that undoubtedly is fueled by music, right? And before we sign off, let's just touch on that real quick. The idea that this music, that negative vibrations and frequencies don't have negative consequences in real life outside of the actual music itself while you're listening to it, you are emphatically wrong. One would only have to study cymatics just a little bit to understand how your body physically will react to frequencies, whether it be for the good or for the bad. One could study the development of military-grade technology, sonic weaponry used to literally fucking make people implode or ward them off, get them away from a certain area, incapacitate them. What do you think is happening? That's sound that they're using. The difference between music is that it is also sound, frequency, but the words themselves have meanings, and those words are being repeated. That repetition, that sonic frequency is gnawing its way into your psyche, and it will end up in your subconscious one way or another. There's no escape from this. Your subconscious will absorb everything it comes in contact with, whether you have an occurrence of that, you know, a conscious occurrence of that in your fucking frontal lobe. What I'm saying is, we need to take responsibility at this point and understand that we can no longer say this is just music when what you're saying is that young girls should behave like complete degenerates, that young men should behave like complete degenerates. And then you look around at society and what do you see? You think there's no cause and effect going on with the music and the entertainment? Every fucking podcast you look at is low vibrational. It's all about gossip. Let me not say every, because forgive me, that was wrong. There are some incredible podcasts out there. I'm talking about hip hop though. I'm talking about hip hop podcasts. It is dire. It's dire. I'm embarrassed for some people because of the shit that they do. and don't realize it at this point. You know what I mean? Like, you're part of the problem, homie. You would like to isolate yourself and detach and disconnect yourself, but everything is connected, and you couldn't possibly ever do that. So all your choices matter. You know what I mean? What you write, what you create, it matters. That energy, when you create it, it's going somewhere, and it will continue to travel. You are responsible for that. If you never heard that before in your life, I'm telling you now, you are responsible for the music you create. Your creations should serve your karma. Peace, Lord.
The victory of soul over circumstance, the growth of inner light over the pressures and problems of outer living. We find gradually that the strength to do it right develops within.